Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
Oh man, what a day it is. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm sitting here in Texas, McKinney, Texas, dealing with this weather that's psychotic. Something's going on. 75 degrees one day, 26 the next, 65 the next day. Next day, 35-mile-an-hour winds. The next day, snow. I don't know, man. I just need a relief. And that's why we're here with Teague's Take a little bit to try to get some things off our mind. We can talk reality with football, sports, and things of that nature. So we thank you very much for tuning in and doing all the things that you do for Teague's Take. A lot of viewers, listeners, keep downloading those things if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast source. Apple, iTunes, what is it called? Apple Tunes, wherever.
It's just called podcast on Apple.
Just podcast. Yeah, things are all different. So we do appreciate you guys doing that. If you listen to us or watching us live on YouTube, thank you for joining in. Make sure you get in the chat as we're giving our opinions. We like to hear it. Even if you disagree with us, it's okay. Just say what you need to say, and we'll try to get to you when we can. But today is going to be a very special show because we want to talk a little bit about college football, and the focus is going to be what should we do with college football playoffs and all these bowl games. So before I bring in my guests, I want to give you a little bit of rundown on this. Kind of looked at it a little bit. Of course, these other gentlemen we're going to have on, they're data-driven. They're very good football brains, so I'm very going to be interested to hear what they have to say. But the bowl games have I'm thinking they're fizzling out. We got too many of them. They're meaningless. People they're opting out of playing. COVID even led to that a little bit more. You're seeing it just wasn't really worth it. It doesn't matter how much money these teams were giving out. They were not trying to go. And now you got players not wanting to go. The top guys that people really want to see to buy tickets for. So I think we got to fix this system. And it's our job here on Teague's Take to hit the college football people, the NCAA, and tell them exactly what they need to do. So we're going to have some different views here today on that. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the Cowboys because I'm still a little bit butthurt on what's going on with them. Right now, we're going to have to do a special show on that. So I want to go ahead and bring in the people that you guys know and have seen on the show or have listened to on the show. My man, JT. Some of you call him James. I don't know if you call him Bama J. I don't know. You got any nicknames? What are people really calling you now? We've had the JT. You got the James. You got something else out there floating around?
No, I don't. Okay. Just JT and James, and then I won't say I. Emily confuses people. So, whatever.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, because in professional settings, I would introduce myself as James, and the whole time she just refers to me as JT, no matter who she's talking to, and then everybody's all confused on who she's talking about.
Yeah, I understand. What's up, Chemical? We kind of missed you. I ain't seen you around in a while. I was just looking at your Twitter feed, as a matter of fact, to make sure you were all right up there. in Washington. We also have Nick Granado on. Did I make up this name or did I get this from you somewhere with the calling him the QB guru?
You made that up.
Where did you get that from? I thought you gave it to me, Coach.
Yeah, that's what I was like, I think I made this up for him. Quarterback guru. So he actually helped us out at John Paul II High School this year, helping coach. Did a tremendous job. Great football brain. Obviously, he's an offensive-minded guy. JT's kind of middle. I'm the defense, so you get very well-rounded type of things from him. Very interesting piece that I've never really said about him is that he coached overseas. It was Belgium, correct?
Yes. Yeah, Belgium.
So it's a little bit different over there because how many coaches on your staff did you have for your football team?
I probably had maybe one or two others, and then I had to have my captain step up and do some of the positions, because you can't be everywhere. But I had a lot of captains step up to help with the responsibility. But it's hard, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it looks like you couldn't make your way to the barber shop either. So you got this rocking this mohawk right now, or whatever this thing is you got going on.
It's the cold weather. I was gonna do it, but I was like, why shave my head in this freezing weather? I was like, I'm gonna let this cover me up. I don't want to get sick. You know how it is these days. I don't want to get sick. But I'm surprised you hated the weather, Coach. It don't remind you of Green Bay? A little.
Oh my gosh, I don't like this. I don't like this cold weather. I can't. I was overdressed today, and everybody like, you look sharp or whatever. But yeah, I had on 2 vests, a shirt, another undershirt, a big jacket, my gloves, my skull cap. Just kind of is what it is, So let's go ahead and heat some things up. Then we're talking about the cold weather, but let's go ahead and heat some things up because I want to dive into this bowl situation. All right. So we had. I'll give some preferences, and we won't make our predictions yet. Let's just talk about it a little bit first, if we can. Of course, we always got to talk about the old and the new. JT and Nick. When I was playing college football, there were 18 bowl games. 18. All of them meant something. All of them meant something because that's essentially how you had to get into the national championship or being crowned a champion, based upon how you finished in the AP poll. If it was voted on by the coaches and whatever, however they had it. So that everybody was playing because you could be, 5, 6, 7, 8, hope somebody messed up and things happened and you ended up, getting those votes to be the national championship. Now, am I accurate? Is there like 43 games? How many were on the slate?
I think there was 44 this year.
44 games listed. And man, I'll tell you what, it's hard to keep up with it. We did our little Teague Bowl Mania thing, and man, you had to look at that app every single day, all day long to make sure, things are right. So we've kind of.
No, you didn't. You just had to be good at what you do.
Whatever. You got reminders for everything. You have reminders coming up in your doorbell and everything else. So technology proficient over there. But okay, so we got a lot of bowl games. So let's talk about the money first. What is really driven outside of, why is the NCAA or whoever makes the decision really taking it up to this amount of games? They're all played in the same amount of span, about 17th, 18th of December. We used to have like 18 games between that and the national championship. Now we're squeezing in 43 in 3 weeks. So is this money play? Is that really all it is, or are we becoming a trophy, or what do you call it? Participation society where everybody needs to go and play, which I don't like either. So I just kind of want your impact. JT, I'll let you go on what you think, why we're at this point now with just the number of bowl games.
I think the number of bowl games are, they're basically, it's more money. If it was participation trophies, then the playoffs would be a lot bigger than 4 teams. The bowl games are driven by companies, as they always have been. PlayStation. Well, I guess PlayStation's got one now. It used to be Tostitos. Allstate's got the Sugar Bowl. You got the Chick-fil-A Bowl. You got all these other bowl. Duke's Mayo Bowl, which everybody likes to make fun of. I know. Nick is fond of the Cheez-It Bowl because that was probably the worst bowl game he's ever watched. I think that's probably the worst bowl game that anybody's ever watched ever.
Why'd you watch it? Who was in it? I don't even know.
It was TCU Cal, and they threw like 9 interceptions in between the two of them.
In my defense, there was 2 viewers, and that was me and my boy Trevor. So it was 2 viewers.
Okay, all right.
So, I believe the purpose of the bowl games, if you ask the people that are putting on the bowl games, if you ask the sponsors putting on the bowl games, it's advertising, which is how most people make their money these days. And for the cities that have them, it's for like travel and tourist revenue. This is how you get a bowl game in El Paso. And you're like, well, why? Well, because nobody goes to El Paso otherwise. So if they can get 2 teams to bring fan bases to El Paso and spend a whole bunch of money at restaurants and hotels and whatnot, then
They fans ain't going. Whoever played in that game ain't traveling. But anyway, maybe they're close. Maybe they're in Texas. I don't know who played in that game either.
Yeah, I mean there are fan bases that travel better than others. Like if you get, I don't know, if Syracuse makes a bowl game and go to El Paso, like nobody's traveling to that one. But if New Mexico State makes a bowl game, and they don't very often, and they get an invite to El Paso, the New Mexico State people might go. Or
yeah, give me one more.
Well, I mean, there's New Mexico, Arizona State. UTEP's already there, but there's plenty of teams in Texas that don't make bowl games that might end up in the whatever that bowl is in El Paso.
Oh, okay.
The Sun Bowl.
Sun Bowl. That's it. There you go.
Sun Bowl? I thought the Sun Bowl used to be out in Arizona.
See, that would make sense to me. That's where I thought it was, and then
Sun Bowl, UTEP.
Good to see you out here in the chat with us, Craig Young. Always appreciate you very much. Roll Tide. Okay, so what do you say, Nick? You agree with everything he's saying? You got any other viewpoints on that?
No, I agree. I mean, just money. Again, I'm coming at it from the casual viewer. You guys are the pros with college football, and me, the casual viewer, doesn't watch these games. Who's in them? Why does it matter? There's too many to keep track. I mean, you literally have to sit on the guide or print out a list or look it up on your phone. There's just too many. But yeah, I would assume money, but it's definitely not good eyes or good viewership opportunity for the casual football viewer because there's too much,
Well, and that's why I really like to get deeper into that at some point.
Let's talk about it, because I mean, I think there are a few more things for the casual viewer, because I think the average casual viewer probably watches more bowl games than we do, actually, because it brings unique matchups. There are matchups that aren't particularly going to happen. Especially like when you get a Coastal Carolina playing a team that nobody's, because people don't want to schedule Coastal Carolina, especially when they're kind of good. And then you get matched up in bowl game and you finally get to see what happens. This is how you get Boise State in the Statue of Liberty against Oklahoma.
But what about these other ones like Toledo and Middle Tennessee? Who in the Bahamas? Maybe it's because there was some entertainment in the Bahamas. I don't know. You're right though, and I think that where I wanted to go a little bit is if it's a revenue generating deal, marketing and all that kind of stuff. So the payout on these things. So I'm just looking at the amount of money that some of the bowls have to pay out. That means that I'm trying to do the math to say, okay, on these lesser bowl games that are still paying out $1 million or whatever it is, what are they really making, to profits? They're giving away revenue shares. I say $1 million, but it might be $6 million in the end by the time they get revenue from TV and other things. The larger ones, they say it's a $6 million payout, but then there's a revenue share where they're, dishing out 35 more million or something. So I don't know. I don't have that kind of marketing brain or really know how much TV revenue and other stuff that you actually get from a bowl game.
I'm not sure either, but I think the one thing that we could say is that it must be a lot since they keep adding bowl games, so it's working. If it wasn't profitable, there wouldn't be so many of them, even if they are in El Paso.
That's what's so weird that you're right. I would say they are working, but it's so weird that they are, though, because one, I don't ever hear no one talk about watching them, like just the random, like the small bowl games, like the Bahamas Bowl or whatever. And then when you do catch highlights, let's say you're watching ESPN already for another game and they show highlights, ain't even nobody in the stands at these games.
Yeah.
They really, when they show highlights, it'd be a great highlight, and like, man, ain't nobody there. So like on the surface, it doesn't look like it's working, but you're right. It's got to be working, right?
Yeah, and I think to Craig's point here, Eastern Michigan doesn't. They might not have a lot of fans that travel, but there are a lot of Eastern Michigan alums that if Eastern Michigan finds their way on TV, those people are going to watch it. And, we're not ever going to see an Eastern Michigan game unless they play on Tuesday or Thursday at 7 and you're bored and you're like, well, at least some kind of football's on. Let me just sit down and watch it. And it happens to be Eastern Michigan. So there's a lot of people that probably don't live in Michigan anymore that the only time they get to see their football team is if they make a bowl game.
Nobody ever knows if those games are live anyway when they play on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm like, is this a rerun? Is this a replay? What year was this? What is going on?
You're mistaking it for an ESPN classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did this happen? What is going on? Somebody need to know. Oh man. So okay. Well, so we know there's money involved. Before, as I said, it was not used to find. I shouldn't say not used. You did need a playoff to try to find a championship team. You had a body that ranked everybody, and at the end of the year, whatever they felt like, crowned you the champion. So now in comes the playoff scenario. So they started. How many years has it been now that we've been doing playoffs? 7 years? 8 years. 8 years. 4 teams. Use a couple bowls for semis, and then the college football national championship game. I don't think when it first came out there really wasn't this kind of opting out, was it? Or that really wasn't even a thing back then for guys to really not want to play because they didn't feel like it was a big enough game. That wasn't really happening at first, was it?
Let me see, because I want to see, because I can't really remember, but I do remember kind of like my first, the first time I thought about somebody opting out.
Back when you're still in high school.
Because I remember it being a big deal when Christian McCaffrey sat out.
He been in the league that long?
Which was 2016. Looks like. Or 2017. One of those years. He was drafted in 2017. So I guess it depends on which bowl game they went to, whether it was a New Year's 6 or if it was one of the random ones before the new year, whether it's 2016 or 2017.
McCaffrey knew. He was like, what bowl game is this?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay. So I'm just trying to figure why it, and maybe I'm just being hypersensitive to it because I watch more bowl games than I needed to this year to see that, hey, every doggone team, people aren't playing or they're transferring or they then jumped in the portal already or, whatever it is. So maybe I'm hyping that up a little too much, but it just seemed like it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
I mean, you got to remember, Coach, though, I mean, like you said at the start of the program, I mean, 18 when you were in college, and now there's 43. So you've already devalued how important each one is, because now you're sharing it. Now you add the playoffs, because before, back in your day, you played it and hoped that the polls came out. You know, you played it, and then at the end, you just hope that the rankings come out where you win. You're number one. Well, now it's the national championship game that determines number one. So you're already devaluing one with all the bowl games, and then two, there's a championship game that determines number one. So different era. We're so far. I mean, me and JT played in the 2010s, you know. So now it's a different era of people. They're not watching the game. I'm talking about the younger people. They're not watching the game. They don't want to play in it. Like, why am I going to play in the Cheez-It Bowl? It don't mean nothing. So you know what I mean. Just it like there's nothing special to play in the random bowl game.
And there used to be really cool cities that you would go to. I mean, I know they're adding some really cool cities, and we're talking about these other things, but man, you know, I didn't necessarily want to go to New Orleans because it was right down the street from us, you know, and we could get there all the time. But man, if we were going out to Arizona to play in the Fiesta Bowl, I'm like, oh man, it's cool. I get to go out and hang out at, you know, Phoenix for a week.
Yeah, what was that first bowl that you played in? Do you remember the name of it?
The first bowl I played in was a Sugar Bowl. Why are you trying to?
Okay, well then the second one, because it's not around no more.
The Blockbuster Bowl?
Yeah. The one in 90.
Yeah. Blockbuster Bowl.
You should own that, rep that. That's pretty cool though.
Is Blockbuster even still open? Is that all
one?
gone
I think
now?
there's one. I think there's one left in Oregon. I think.
In Oregon.
I saw a Netflix documentary. They, you know, talk about owning mode, you know.
So what really happened to Blockbuster anyway? I mean,
Netflix. Netflix happened
no
to Blockbuster
for videotapes and DVDs anymore.
Well, yes. Just to go on a little tangent. Remember when Netflix first started, they were actually shipping DVDs. So then you didn't actually have to go to the store. You could just order your DVD online. It would just show up at your house, and then you could send it back. Much like a Redbox, except you didn't have to go talk to nobody. And I think they had a bigger selection. You know, the Blockbuster only had what they had in the store, and if the movie you wanted wasn't at your Blockbuster, then tough. But at least with Netflix, they could just send it to you. And then Netflix started actually streaming it so that you didn't need a DVD at all, and Blockbuster stock went down after that.
Yes, but I wonder if every city has one of those little places. I know there was the one over in Carrollton that you remember the one, JT? There was you probably never.
It was Family Video.
JT don't remember. JT don't remember.
It was Family Video.
Yeah, I wonder if there's always one little city because there's still some.
There's one in Wichita,
like me, that has the old machine and just want to put the popcorn in the brown paper bag and sit down and watch it the old school way.
But this is kind of circling back. I mean, you also like the old bowl games. Not a lot of people do. See how we're kind of circling. I mean, things change.
Yes, sir. They do.
I mean,
they do.
It's too many games.
Well, and you got. I'm just waiting for your haircut to change. Get up to date with that.
I need JT to do some of the editing. That's a JT question, not a me question.
No, I don't have them kind of skills.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, all right. So we're here now, and we got this 4-team playoff system. Everybody's kind of arguing, do we go to 8, 12, whatever the number? So I really, I challenge you guys to be able to talk about different scenarios that you think could work to really get a handle on this stuff and make it where it could be good for people to watch. Maybe we still can make the money like we think we can make. We, as in the sponsors and things of that nature, still let the players have a good time and find a way to get a true champion if we think 4 teams is not enough to find a true champion. So, JT, I know you have different scenarios, so I want to ask about one of them first. Then you can pick whichever one. Well, let me see. In your scenarios that you have, are they all with the same amount of teams in the playoff?
Okay. Well, so I think that for the most part, the bowls are separate from the playoffs. I think the playoffs have its own, well, what people think is its own set of problems, and the bowl games have a different set of problems. They intersect a little bit in the fact that they both exist at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's a way there's a scenario in which, depending on what problem you're really trying to fix, whether you just need to focus on the playoffs or focus on the bowl system. For instance, if player opt-outs are your main concern, as in just anybody, the abstract person, which I really don't think should be. This is where my rant would come in about. I think people who are concerned about player opt-outs really are concerned for selfish reasons. I don't think it has anything to do with loyalty to your teammates and whatnot. I think that's a facade, and I think that's misguided. But anyway,
you're trying to say worried about their bets in Vegas, that if the best guy don't play, that they're
I think that's some people. Yeah, I think that's some people. I think there's other folks that just don't like it for whatever reason. And my counter argument would be, well, nobody complains when your star quarterback on your favorite NFL team doesn't play the fourth preseason game, because that has the exact same amount of meaning as these bowl games do. And people definitely don't complain when they sit out week 16 or week 17 trying to get ready to the playoffs. That's okay. But God forbid a college athlete decide that he don't want to play in this exhibition game at the end of the season. It doesn't matter.
Well, hold on a second. What about the NBA? They got rules. Remember that they were starting to try to rest NBA players in the middle of the season or whatnot. And they had to crack down on that and say, man, you can't be resting our people. These people are trying to get in the stands to come watch this guy play.
Yeah, and that's all the NBA money driven and fans saying they don't want to go to the games. I don't think that has anything to do with actual care for the people who are actually playing the game.
Okay. All right. So then once you go on the side of, because if you're saying there's two different, and I do understand that, one side of bowl games and one side on the playoff side. I think I'm interested to hear a little bit about playoffs, and how we fix the playoff system that we have now.
Okay. So then I've got more questions, because when we say fix the playoffs, my first question, as I've been thinking about this over the last week, is like, okay, what exactly is the problem? Are we upset that the same teams make it all the time, and that's the problem? Because if that's the problem, like, tough. That's not the problem, because like just expanding the playoffs doesn't actually solve your problem. I think Nick and I had talked about this before. If you are the fan that is upset that Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State and either Notre Dame or Oklahoma or whatever, or Georgia is making the playoffs every year, expanding the playoffs only just makes sure that they get in every year. That's all it does. If you are on the side of, well, we want wider representation of the college football landscape, we don't want this to be a Southeastern affair,
I think that's probably what most people think.
Then expanding the playoffs starts to make a little bit more sense, because now you can, even though this is exactly the opposite of what the SEC wants, you can start adding those automatic bids for, if you win your conference, you get to go to the playoffs. And now your conference championship games matter even more. So that's one thing. And you can probably get the group of five. You can have these at-large teams. You can have that team that potentially lost some random game that they shouldn't have lost. That's probably really good. And I know I'm saying that I'm teasing that as kind of like Alabama sometimes, where they lose a game. Like this year, they lost a game to A&M, and you're like, how the hell did that happen? But they're probably still one of the best teams. I know that the committee is kind of doing that anyway, but you can expand that, and like maybe Oregon gets in or Utah gets in and they surprise somebody. Not saying that they're going to go and beat Georgia or, those other teams, but I don't know. Maybe it can happen. So all this to say, before I take up too much time, is, are we really trying to find the best team, or are we trying to make the best TV show? Because the more teams that you add, the more likely you get the upsets, which is why March Madness does as well as it does. There's 68 with those play-in games, and you get to 64 before you start the real tournament. And the only reason it's that fun is because that 12 is going to beat the 5. You got the 1 year that the 16 beats the 1, and you're like, well, this never happens if you cut it down to 8 teams.
Top 8.
And you play. Because that 16 seed is never actually going to beat everybody. Maybe they maybe
Coast Carolina that 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they went. Elite 8 or something like that. Well, I think, and you're making some really good points, and you're actually going to be leading up into some of my good arguments, I think, or argument on my turn for that. So how do you feel, Nick, about all the stuff that he's said at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with JT. We've had this conversation off air before, and we've had some interesting random ideas just to see what sticks or not. But I'm a fan of just having everybody in the playoff like the FCS does. I know that won't happen, but I like that. Again, like the March Madness thing, like JT said, it's exciting. But again, now it's not going to happen because the bowl games, any running the bowl games, people like the bowl games. So I kind of did a little bit of research just to see what other people thought. And, Sports Illustrated, SB Nation, some YouTubers, just to see. And I found this scenario more than one time. I actually saw it like 6 or 7 times. So tell me what you think. I've never brought this up to JT or even you, Coach, but you bring it back to the bowl tie-ins, the classic Rose Bowl, Pac-10 versus Pac-12 versus Big Ten. You do all that all the way down. You do the at-large teams. Then from that, you rank the top 4 after that. I saw like multiple people say that, and I thought that was kind of interesting because it kind of brings back that bowl prestige. I think it brought it back in my head where those random bowl games. I know we're talking about the New Year's 6 bowls, but it brings it back and they kind of mean a little something on a different way because now they hold weight, kind of like when you were back in college where all these games matter. I might get ranked 1 after this.
Let me interject here real quick because Chemical Coyote says, oh God, just talking about adding more games stresses me out. I think you can do what Nick is talking about without actually adding more games. What you do is you cut out the non-conference games. You stop playing the New Mexico States and Mercers and Akrons and tell them to play their own conference, and then you just play your conference games, and you got a bowl game at the end if you can win your conference.
Yeah. Still all back in the who gets the money then, because I'm playing devil's advocate, not saying I don't like it, but I could see the university saying, well, that's 1 or 2 how many ever home games I would have had, ticket sales here, concession, parking, blah, 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 blah. So I'm about to lose a ton of money unless I can make it up on unless there's some kind of way to really make it up on the end. If it's only 1 game, there's probably a loss for the university. Then the president got to make a vote on that, Okay. Well,
tell your daughter that she needs to actually be working.
Oh my gosh. What time is it? 8:30. Yeah, she does need to be working. But we're glad you tuned in, Jada. We do thank you. We always hype you up on the show. So we're glad you're here. Jada's make sure you guys go stream her TV broadcast I forget the name of the website, but it is K10 in Denison, Texas. K10 KTEN. And it does stream on there. And when you're watching the news at 5 or 10 Central Time, the layout and all the things that happen in those shows, she's actually producing that. So you can give her a little critique if you think something didn't match up right or something, because she is the woman when it comes to that. And it's funny to hear her talk about it when she come home and she gets stressed out because of Anchor changed up what she said or whatever. Kind of like what we do on Teague's Take here when I give JT his script and he says, "No, well, hold on a second," and changes everything up, So, okay. So there were some questions in there.
Yeah, there was a question. How would that work? SEC West plays all SEC West, then top of the East plays top of the West. I mean, that's how conference play works now. That's no different. I think the difference would be actually since we're talking about the SEC and we're talking about cutting out some of these conference games or these non-conference games, what that would actually allow you to do is play more conference games. Oh, who would have thought? Maybe instead of just playing Tennessee and some random other team on the East, I don't know, maybe you could play Tennessee and 2 or 3 other teams on the East, so that you don't go a full 12 years without playing at Florida or playing South Carolina. Like, when was the last time Alabama played Kentucky?
I don't know.
And it was so long ago that we hadn't played South Carolina that I had routinely forgot they were even in the conference.
We probably paid Kentucky too when we played. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's some validity that and I don't know what that really would look like with I'm saying the super conferences. Everybody's kind of moving around. You got other wrinkles now that it's kind of screwing it up, I think, with no one's been dismantled yet, but the conferences, do you think those conferences will start to, is something going to go away sooner or later? Because of the size of some of these conferences they might get.
Yeah, I think so. I think one thing that we need to stop doing, because we're always talking about what is good for the sport. I think we need to stop pretending that all 130 FBS teams are serious about playing football. This parity, it's not a thing. It never has been a thing. When James Madison comes up next year, James Madison ain't gonna be fighting for no title anytime soon, probably ever. So, there are teams that play football because it makes them money, and then there are teams that play football because they're good at it and it makes them money. And the teams that play football that are also good at it, that generates most of the revenue, there's only like 25 of them. The rest of them are just out here just to be out here. I'm looking at you, UConn.
Okay. All right. So we're over halfway into the show. So I want to get into the specifics of what your proposal would be. If you had to add, did you guys look to JT, did you do a scenario that if teams had to be added, what it would look like?
Yeah, I did. I played around with most of the things that people are saying, whether we should go to 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. I don't like 6. I don't like buys. I don't like buys in playoff formats. I understand giving a reward, but your reward is that you get to play a worse team, not that you get to just skip a week into that. You have to win fewer games to get to the national championship. I think that's kind of lame. So I like the power of 2, which means either an 8 or a 12-team playoff.
Okay.
I think 8.
12?
Yeah, 8 or 12. I think 8 is probably easier for more people to stomach, because you can say, all right, it's the 5 Power 5 conference champions. and then your best ranked group of 5, which puts you at 6, and then like 2 at-large teams. Which I guess one of them is probably going to end up being Notre Dame. Whatever. I don't really care. I think the most fair in the sense of this is how you can really stop all the, well, they should be in and this other team should be in, is just if you went, I guess really, if you went to 10 and you just said if you win your conference, you're in. If you don't win your conference, you're out. Simple. That's the way it goes. You win your conference, you're in. You don't win the conference, you're out. But then, then people say, well, so-and-so's conference is easier than the others. Well, then if you couldn't beat the best team in your conference, then you probably couldn't beat the best team in another conference either. So there's that. But I like the 12 because you can do that and take 2 at-large teams.
How do you pick your 12 then? Just the same format that
the 10 conference winners, your 10 conference winners, and your 2 highest ranked that are not conference winners.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean they have to be 1 or 2 because, like typically your 1 through 4 is going to make it anyway. But like, even if your highest ranked conference winner is 16, or non-conference winner is 16, well, then that's the way it is. I don't think mathematically that works out. It'll probably be 10.
What about the structure then? When do you have to start playing those?
So that would add 2 extra games. And what I would say is, I'm thinking about Alabama's schedule just because I know how Alabama's schedule works. I don't know how other teams' schedule work, but like that game before Auburn, whoever it is, that's out.
Don't matter.
That don't happen anymore.
Don't matter.
And that game in the middle of the season, it's usually week 2 or week 3, I guess, because we play like the big Power 5 and then we go play a scrub.
Mercer?
Yeah.
Can't play Mercer anymore?
Nope. That's out. And then you just.
But that's a tax write-off. We get to pay them. Is that charitable?
It should be, right? Because you got to pay them. I mean, it is legitimately a donation. It might actually be a tax write-off.
Damn, come on, man.
But I mean, every team can find 2 games on their schedule that they don't need.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So JT's going with a 12-team model if it had to change because of some.
It's my.
You're kind of meeting halfway in the middle of appeasing both that, hey, if you're trying to get a little bit of disparity or new teams at least have a chance, you get it.
And your conference championship matters that much more.
Okay. All right, Nick, what you got for us? What kind of suggestion you got on this? Are you at 8 teams, 4 to leave it at 4, keep the
I'm
12?
I actually was going to leave it at 4. I like the idea I saw where, you just do the bowl tie-ins. Again, I'm all for making the bowl games mean something. But it also just depends on which kind of wholesome way, what the NCAA wants to do. You brought up super teams. I've had that idea with JT, or super conferences. Does everybody just make a super conference and then you just have 4 throughout the country and you just play within your super conference and win that? There's a number of kind of ways to get to the playoff. But I don't mind adding. Talked about taking all the conference winners, but I actually really like I said, the ones that I saw. I thought it was interesting. I really like the bowl tie-ins, bringing back the prestige of the games, and then ranking those. You can keep that
I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and you keep it at 4 because then you take 6 or 8 out of that. Now it's too much. Take the top 4 out of those bowl games, the New Year's 6, and I think you find some interesting because the Coastal Carolinas or the Boise State, those games still happen if you do that. And then it's like, okay, if they win it, again, going to Boise State, they beat OU that year, maybe you take them to a top 4. It does create some interesting scenarios. So I kind of would like that as a viewer, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that straddles, 2 different, nostalgia of You want your bowl game to matter, which I still haven't gotten to what I would do with bowl games yet. You get your bowl games to matter because you still have, like, your bowl game is that one final stamp on your resume. I think it's kind of like the how basketball does the tournament at the end of the year, not the March Madness tournament, your conference tournament.
Yeah.
And like you gotta go through your conference tournament one more time, and you get to play everybody again. And then they say, all right, after you played your conference tournament, you might have played your way into March Madness, or you might have actually played your way out of March Madness. Depending on how you do in that intermediate bowl game scenario.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys my hot take. I say hot take, but I'm going to give you my scenario here. It's going to be hot because y'all going to be like, what the hell is he talking about? All right. So I've been looking at this deal, and I'm going to try to back it up with some information and data. Like I said, it was 18 bowl games when I started. Really only about 9 of them probably mattered. 8.5. Right? Because the Blockbuster Bowl did mean something back then. Blockbuster Bowl, Peach Bowl, Citrus Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl. All right. You had all of
Wait, really? So the Blockbuster Bowl was up there with the Sugar Bowl?
Yes.
Really?
It was one of the higher ranked.
Where was that at? What city was that in? Orlando? I'm guessing.
Yes, it was.
Oh, nice.
So you pretty much still have those bowl games plus others, the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, Peach Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Rose Bowl, Citrus Bowl, Outback Bowl, I guess we have now. But there's still pretty much 8 bowl games that are pretty high up there, okay? Even though there's the other ones. So I think to preserve some of those bigger bowl games and the meaning of them, let's have 16 teams go to the playoffs. Now, let me explain how that would work, okay? So think of the old school stuff where I said we got these bowl games, but now you got even a whole lot more. So we can use, similar to what you're saying, hey, let's look at the rankings of those teams, the top 16 in the poll, however we get to it, you're going into the playoffs. We don't have to get rid of the other bowl games. You get more teams in there, but these bowl games would start to mean more. Let's start playing the bowl. So right now, and even when I was playing, bowl games started 3rd week of December or whatever, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, right? This year they started on the 17th, I think. So we still got all our line of bowl games, but that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're going to have the first round of playoffs with those 16 teams. We're going to cut it down to 8 to the next week, right? That should be about the 23rd, 24th, just right before Christmas. Then down to 4, right around New Year's, and then championship games afterwards. So I think if you make more bowl games matter, the larger schools, those players may at least play in that first game because it's going to be one and done. You play one more game, early December, you lose, you're out. You go home, you go to the NFL, you do whatever. But you got a chance. So your higher ranked teams are going to do that. And all the other teams, if they're going to opt out, maybe so. But you still can get the Toledos and the Middle Tennessees and all this kind of stuff because they want to play anyway for their fan bases. So they still could be playing at or around the same time that we start our playoff system, right? Okay, well, George, you got to add 3 to 4 games, to someone's season. Well, I'm being selfish, I guess, on it, saying, well, guys are being paid a lot of money now. They got to play 3 extra games to go. Maybe you add some incentives if you win the game. Not only does the university get some money, but you get a little bonus too. You get extra. Everybody get 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. If there's that much money in it, give them a bonus for being in the game. And if you win, maybe you get a little bit more.
I want to interject one time just for people who don't know about adding more games and thinking about it's too many. Now I know we know, but we have some people in the audience that don't live here in Texas. But if you are a if you were playing at a public school, do you know how many games you have to play in order to win the state championship here in Texas? For those in the chat, that is 16. Your 16th game as a high schooler will be your state championship game. So I don't know how it is in other states, but at least here, they're already playing that many games.
That's right. That's right. And I appreciate you for helping defend my cause there, because I don't think it would be asking these guys too much. High schools are playing a lot of games. Colleges play a lot of games. Obviously, when you get to the pros, now you could be playing up to 21 games. Is that right? Yeah. If you make it to the Super Bowl, 17 regular season games plus the other.
Yeah, if you're a wild card.
So there's a lot of football being played. So I don't think it's a far stretch, and you don't have to take those other games out. I think we can get the best of both worlds. It's what you said, JT. You get the disparity. You know, you got those teams, they're ranked already. And how, we don't have to, we just right off the sheet, however we get to them, right? We got 16 that are going in. Will that lead to, I think that'll add to what you're talking about, March Madness. You get your 1 versus your 16. You got your 2 versus your 15. You got, whatever, 3, 14. So you get these matchups that could be
pretty good. It's not unusual. Well, it's not unheard of for, an unranked team to beat somebody in the top 10. It happens all the time. I don't know how many times it happened this year. So, you can get a 4 that beats a 14 that beats a 3 or whatever.
And then that I think that gives excitement in one sense that, man, they really could go knock these guys out. You really got to be on your toes, your teams. You can't slip up like Bama did against A&M or whatever. What was A&M ranked at that time when they beat us?
They weren't. They weren't.
Yeah. Okay. So, it just adds some credence. Maybe it helps those programs that, hey, we knocked these people out. We're going on to the next round. And I don't know, maybe someone gets lucky, gets hot and wins, but maybe they just do the one game and it still helps them. Hey, we knocked them out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a recruiting pitch. Even though you lost the next one, it's like, hey, we were capable of beating a top 10 team. We can do it again if we bring in a little bit more talent.
That's right. If we got you, and so I could see. I feel like that this could work from that. I don't know. Tell me what I'm missing or what I'm thinking.
I'll give you one. I think it's minor, but I'll give you one. For things like the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. Well, I think we have this problem now. I just don't think that we talk about it that much because people will say, the bowl games still matter. Or the bowl games that are in the playoffs matter. Yes, but they matter because they're playoff games. They don't matter because it's the bowl game. So I'm using the Rose Bowl as the example here because the Rose Bowl was what Big 10 teams and Pac-12 teams will look forward to at the end of the year. And the Cotton Bowl, I don't know who had ties to that. I'm assuming the Big 12 probably had ties to the Cotton Bowl at one point or the Southwestern Conference, whatever it was when the Cotton Bowl was real big. My point is, when the Sugar Bowl becomes part of the playoff, I guess next year when it rolls back on, SEC teams are not saying, yes, we get to play in the Sugar Bowl. It doesn't matter that it's the Sugar Bowl.
That's right.
It could be the Sun Bowl in UTEP. It doesn't matter. It's a playoff game. Who cares? So I think if you want that level of prestige, you have to separate them from the playoff somehow because you don't. So the thing that I was kind of talking about with your sister actually was that the Sugar Bowl and even this year, right? The Sugar Bowl had Ole Miss and Baylor, which was a great game, but the Sugar Bowl was designed to be the best SEC team versus the best Big 12 team. Mm-hmm. And because the two best SEC teams are in the playoff playing in some other bowl game, you get just who's left over. That's who gets to go to the Sugar Bowl.
So I would say, great point. And I would think so. In my scenario, you'd have 8 games, then 4 games, and 2 games, then obviously the one. So there's still 7 games towards the end of January, and we could have a rotating scale where you take. Remember, I said there's still only 8 top bowl games, right? That are spending the same amount of money, so they still can have their value. Right now, we don't have a bowl game that's tied to one of the sponsors, right? I don't think they do that anymore. The national championship is just college football national championship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's roll that around. So that last national championship game, 1 year is the Rose Bowl. It's one of these 8. The 2 before that, or one of the semifinal before that is one of the bowl games, and we can roll this stuff around. So one time it's the Sugar Bowl and Orange Bowl, and then the next time it's whatever, and then the 4. So you can get 7 games where you got semifinals. I guess it would be quarterfinals. Is that what 4 is?
Yeah.
Quarterfinal. Is that the quarterfinals, the semifinal, and the national championship game? You can get 7 of those 8 in there, and maybe you rotate that around so the last one's not stuck down there with
the only one that you have to that you really have to convince is the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl, because the Rose Bowl is going to play on New Year's Day no matter what.
Well, they can pay. They fork up the damn money. Did you want to stay on December 31st or 1st? Change it from $6 million to $12 million. We're gonna lock you in right there. Give it the highest bidder. We're talking about making money here, so you want it. Who gets the money anyway outside of the school and the sponsors? Anything going to NCAA or
no? I think
money.
Well, the TV deals will actually spill over into the rest of the conference, but really, you get a payout if you win. You get a smaller payout if you lose. But
you can stand to make $17 million or whatever if you win the Rose Bowl, or it might be higher than that. I don't know. Could be 35. I can't say.
I don't know. While you're going, I'll look and see what the Rose Bowl payout is.
Yeah. So I know it has that normal little payout, and then something else with the revenues and all that, where it kind of gets up there kind of high, extremely high. I didn't know it was that much of an extra payout on the revenue from TV and things of that nature. So Nick, that's where I'm kind of going and thinking that, hey, New York 6 is still can be viable. New York 6, New Year's 6 can still be viable, because in those last 2 weeks, that's 12 teams that could play in your New York 6, New Year's 6.
Seems like Rose Bowl has last year they paid $4 million per team, which
that's before the revenue.
So
there's a lot of that hidden. Hey, that's like the guaranteed piece, and then they come back and calculate.
Yeah, I don't know. I just this is if you make it to the Rose Bowl and you play in the Rose Bowl game, that team gets $4 million.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be sure to try to show you that other stuff where I was reading where that you are right, but there's a revenue pool that those teams get, and it gets astronomical. That's why I don't know why they don't talk about that, but which just like counting tickets, afterwards. Think of it like our high school games. We tell the refs you're going to get $85 for the game, but ticket sales and everything else, they got to get a piece of that too, at the larger schools anyway. Not necessarily for us, but okay. So I don't know. I think we've all made some cases for some good things. I believe. I think there's never going to be a perfect answer, right?
Oh, here's my radical idea.
All right.
Move the bowl games to the front of the season.
All right.
All the kickoff classics, we got the Chick-fil-A kickoff classic that don't mean nothing because, they're just Chick-fil-A sponsoring a game. Like, whatever. Just take all those bowl games that we were going to play at the end of the season and all your random matchups and whatnot. And what you could even do, I know the big bowls aren't going to go for this. You know, the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl are not going to play at the beginning of the season. But if I had it my way, they would, and it would still have those conference tie-ins, but it'd be based on last year's results. So even though the Big 12 or the Big 10 winner, a la Michigan, went to the playoffs, therefore they could not play in the Rose Bowl. You put the Rose Bowl at the beginning of the season and you say, hey, Michigan, you're playing Utah. That is your first game, and you're playing in the Rose Bowl, and it's your first game of the season. Then the Rose Bowl does matter because it is a game that matters. It's not the playoffs, and you only got there based on the results from last year anyway. So you still get your conference winners, you still get the tie-ins, and you still get the revenue that you wanted because you got two big teams going to Pasadena, and you know people are traveling because it's not some random bowl game in the middle where playoffs are happening.
I love it. I think it could be a scheduling nightmare.
Probably.
Because you're trying to go in these cycles and then you really don't know who you're going to play. You know, they're already negotiating first year games. And now
that's true.
That's
true.
You know, or first season games, whatever. First, you know what I'm talking about. So I could see that, oh, man, I got to wait. We got to see. And then now you got to go find a game. We didn't do so well.
Well, I mean, half of those teams know about 3 weeks in whether they're going to the Rose Bowl or not.
Does it start making calls already? Hey, I'm going to need somebody
after
back.
Nebraska lost to Illinois that first game, they could go ahead and just start calling people like, hey, we're not going. It's just call like it is.
But I really like that concept. I mean, I've heard you say that before, and it's very interesting, and it would be very different. But anything you can do to try to bring the meanings of the bowl games back, I'm in favor of that more than, all right, how many teams really need to be in the playoffs, you know? Because I just think bowl games should mean something because I'm on the other side. You know, just playing, whatever. Everybody's kind of getting awarded. Yeah, there's some money, you know, for all the people, but I don't know that necessarily should be about that because it's not fun. I mean, like you're saying, we're just watching games. It's good for certain fan bases. I don't know how good it is for everything else, just diluting, you know, bowl games. Shoot. I know it was COVID and all that kind of stuff, but you had teams in there. What was the lowest ranked team? Do we have a 4 and 6 or 4?
No, it wasn't that low. It wasn't that low. Everybody that made it,
5, somebody 5.
Everybody that made it this year was bowl eligible. There was a couple years ago we had some 5 and 7 teams make it because there weren't enough 6 and 6 teams. We had more bowl games than teams that were eligible.
Well, and
should be a warning sign, right?
Well, yeah, I think I actually wrote a whole article. If you want to check that out, it's probably still up on georgesheet.com. You can also reach it there by teaguestake.com. There's a blog post that I wrote a long time ago about how there's too many bowl games. So go check that out, I suppose.
Can someone cap it and just say we're not going over something? Because I don't see why this would stop.
Yeah, it won't until teams decide not to take them. But it's hard. It's hard for you as the administration to be like, yeah, we're not going to go play this bowl game because we're not good enough because they get paid at the end of the day. You know, the athletic department gets money just for showing up. Now, just to plug my article one more time, I did kind of touch on this on how there are too many because there are teams that do actually lose money going to this bowl game, like UConn. I actually talked about how UConn went to a New Year's Six game and lost millions of dollars because the UConn fan base knew that they were going to a New Year's Six game. I think they went to the Fiesta Bowl. UConn is very far away from the Fiesta Bowl. So they already weren't going to travel very well. They also didn't travel very well because they saw who they were playing, and most of the fan base was like, yeah, we about to get the doors blown off of us in this bowl game. So maybe I should save my $400, $500 plus a plane ticket, plus hotel, plus food to not go see my team get beat up. and then it costs them, I don't know, $3 million to get their team transported from Connecticut to the Fiesta Bowl. And then the payout wasn't that great. And then the concession revenue and all that kind of stuff wasn't good.
See, you bring up something else, and thank you for doing that. As I don't understand why, if that's the case, why the bowl. All right, so I got my high school hat on now. There are very prestigious tournaments and different things that our teams go to. When they want you to come to those deals, you know what they say? Hey, we got a hotel allowance. We're going to fly you in. It's kind of like when we played in the Catholic Bowl. They said, hey, we're going to take care of your buses. When Houston St. Thomas, they didn't have any costs. They paid for all their hotel rooms. They put them on the bus and all this kind of stuff. So why wouldn't a bowl game say, we are the Rose Bowl. We're choosing you to come. Obviously, there's a shit ton of money. We got your plane. We got the big Delta for you guys to fly on out.
I don't know.
We've been cutting the deal with the Omni Hotel. Your rooms, you're going to get X amount of rooms. If you need more because you want to bring other people, it's going to cost you this much, to buy them. But cut those costs down. So when UConn or someone like that, whatever they're invited, they don't need to go to bowl game to lose, money. The university, okay, maybe the families don't travel and maybe the city takes a hit, but the university shouldn't. I think they need to take care of them.
Yeah. I mean, and you kind of have to look for it. This is not something that usually like comes across as an ESPN headline, but it happens every year. There are teams that are 6-6 or, just bowl eligible that actually opt not to go to the bowl game. They get all kinds of invites and they're just like, nah, it's not financially responsible for us to. And I think Liberty might have been one last year. They were just like, we're not even gonna bother with this. It's fine. We'll just not play.
Well, JT, you brought that up. I think when we were speaking privately about it a couple weeks ago, kind of what your dad's idea with adding the more teams, 16 teams. Wouldn't that be even that idea a little bit hard too on the travel and all that money? I mean,
oh yeah, I did.
I think you said that reason is
I did, but I think with now that he's kind of mentioned and walked through it, you have you've got TV revenue now. You got
gotcha.
And it should be. This is probably another thing. ESPN shouldn't own all the bowl games. They shouldn't have exclusive TV rights to all the bowl games and the playoffs and the national championship. There'd be a lot more money involved if it was treated more like the NFL playoffs, where some games on CBS, some games on Fox, and still on NBC, and then like you got to bid up to get to be able to air the Super Bowl.
Are you advocating for a college football Nickelodeon slime game?
Damn right.
Yes.
Nickelodeon and you get slime, put that on the first round. The only people that get slime are the losers, too. There's something else. You're going to go get dunked in this mess. But there are, there's too many different things. Okay, I know we're over time, so I want to ask one fun, maybe silly question. It's not even silly. It could be some meaning. We're going to pretend new bowl games are coming out next year. Who do you want to see as a sponsor? What is the new bowl game that has a new name?
I got you, Coach. I got an idea right now. The disrespect that it hasn't happened yet. If Blockbuster could get a bowl game, why doesn't Netflix have a bowl game? Just saying.
That's fair. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's got a bowl game.
Yeah, that I'm sure people lost money in that one. You need to look that up and see who the hell you really paid all them teams. That anyway. All right, JT, you got one?
I do. So this one, I'm putting my player hat on because the bowl games they give gift bags and whatnot to the players, which is why if I'm if there was any bowl game that I actually wanted, if I was a player that I would have wanted to play in this year, it would have been the Fiesta Bowl because it's sponsored by PlayStation. And I heard that the players got PlayStations for playing the game. And I don't know if anybody else knows this, but it is very hard to find a PlayStation 5 anywhere. They've been out for 2 years. You can't get your hands on them, and they cost like $1,000, and they're really only supposed to cost $499 because you can't get them. So if you get to play
could you make one?
No, Not for $4.99. I can't.
All right.
So my sponsor is Apple and Google. You guys should be having you guys should have bowl games, and you should be giving out Android and iPhones or laptops or whatever.
Anything.
Okay. All right. I like that. Well, mine would be the Cryptocurrency Bowl sponsored by
Oh, that one's for sure coming. You know that one's coming.
Oh, Bitcoin. And one of the gifts that the player's going to get is they're going to get a little some kind of wallet with a little bit of money in it because they're giving away all the gifts and all that kind of stuff. And so start them off with a little bit of cryptocurrency. So that's where I would go. They have to get in. Somebody.
Now,
right?
One thing, because Justin came in and he had a question about the opt-outs. So just wanted to give my 2 cents on how you fix the opt-outs, even though I don't think the opt-outs are a problem at all. The Bitcoin idea is definitely one. Like, instead of giving out these stupid swag bags, like I think this is where like pay for play is. That's the solution, right? You want these guys to play in your meaningless bowl game that you threw together just so you can have a whole bunch of advertising revenue. You know, maybe Chris McCaffrey doesn't opt out if you just say, "Hey, we're about to give you like a quarter of a Bitcoin." It doesn't even have to be a ton of money. It just needs to be a nice healthy signing bonus or something to say, "Hey, look, we're about to give your school 17 million anyway, so here's 100,000 just." 25,000 per quarter. Just play the game, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I think it could happen, man. Why not? We're throwing away money all around, all the time. Now, I mean, shoot. Anybody paid attention to who's the highest paid college player now? Is there any data on that? Is somebody tracking this? Do we got anybody?
I don't know. I hadn't looked.
$3 million yet? Shoot, are they giving away houses and cars? Because I heard somebody was talking about they are actually giving away cars now and cash.
Well, they've been doing that.
It
just wasn't for name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. So, good Lord. I don't know.
I still say if they can use your face on a billboard to sell tickets, then they should at least give you some of the ticket revenue.
No, I agree. What would you have done, JT? I know what the little allowance that you might have got from us and your granddaddy. Could you imagine getting $20,000 a month your freshman year in college?
No, because I don't make $20,000 a month now.
With your, double major and oh golly.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. I'd be if I was making $20,000 a month in college and then like didn't go to the pros. I'd be taking a enormous pay cut.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here. People are making this right. I mean,
Jada said I would give her some, maybe. I don't know. Living in that apartment that Glenn and I spent rent for what $700 a month or whatever. Maybe I would have given you some because that'd have just been more money than I don't know to do.
Did you say Glenn and I spent rent? I don't think it worked like that. I'm feeling like I had something to do with that.
You didn't. You weren't even the co-signer, so don't. Granddad co-signed my lease. You didn't co-sign my least.
Well, you got his name.
Hey, I worked at the ticket office. I made my $6 an hour.
Oh yeah, at least you had a job. Did Jada? Oh, I guess Jada had a job too. She worked in the rec center or whatever.
Yeah, she was teaching spin classes or whatnot. I was just handing out tickets and getting fussed at for tickets not scanning.
Well, that's okay because you got to go to the Drake relays for free. So
yeah, which is the part that I'm actually most upset about is that now that I'm not a student, like now I got to pay like everybody else. Like them tickets ain't cheap.
You need to donate more money to Drake.
Yeah, they want me to donate a ticket.
Anyway, all right, guys. Well, I think that's great. Anything else y'all need to say about these bowl games before we sign off? I think we got a lot of information and gave some give some people some food for thoughts. You guys are awesome. We're sharing that. Appreciate you guys' homework with that.
My last thought, just because Justin, I don't think Justin was here when I said it. And just a reminder for everybody else, don't worry about the opt-outs. If you're not upset about the opt-outs in NFL preseason or the opt-outs at the end of the NFL regular season, that matters. You shouldn't be worried about opt-outs in these bowl games. So, I mean, ask Matt Corral how he's feeling. I know he's going to tell you that he'd do it all over again to play in the Sugar Bowl and not mess up his ankle. But yeah, I think Jalen Smith wished that he didn't play in his, and deep down, I think Matt Corral is like, yeah, I didn't have no business playing in there, because Kenny Pickett is sitting there looking like, yeah, see, this is why I didn't play in whatever bowl game they played Michigan State in, and Kenny Pickett's probably going to get drafted before Matt Corral is.
Well, hey, man, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got another year. We'll see how many people out next year. We'll try to get some data on that. But thank you guys for listening to the show. It's been awesome. We really do appreciate it. Please make sure you stay tuned via your podcast channels. Make sure you subscribe it, like it, and get any kind of
give us a like on this video too.
Yes, give us a like here, but make sure you're paying attention, because we will be putting out content on different days as well. We've been talking about that. So JT and I, we haven't finalized it yet, but we're going to need to do another episode regarding the horrific loss that the Cowboys had. It will not be like this. It will be recorded content.
Yeah, you might want Nick on that one too.
I'm pretty upset still.
Yeah. That's what the hair is from. You know? It's fire over there. That's really what it is.
It's 5 days of just depressed hair. You know,
I don't think I talked for 2 days either. I mean, me and JT wasn't even talking anymore at the game for a while there.
I was just sitting there just watching. Like, what is this?
Yeah, I couldn't even talk anymore. Yeah, we'll have to, get into that, and maybe we'll have, Nick and maybe some others. I just want to get some opinions on this because there's plenty of stuff on the news, but we want to have the real talk and just kind of talk about our feelings and what needs to happen. And there's still a lot of breaking things that are kind of happening around the star and stuff of that nature. So.
Jada says she came home and there was Crown on the counter.
It absolutely was. She just told him. So I made that tweet on what should I drink, and I guess I never told everybody what it was. But I did have some Crown and some Fireball. So yeah, it was kind of a bad deal. It took me a long time to get home. After I dropped JT off, I think I busted a few other lefts because I didn't know how to go home and talk to Consuelo about it either. So
meanwhile, I walked in and I was like, I'm telling him, I was like, this is just, I don't even have any words. This is just the strangest thing I've ever seen. I can't form a thought.
Yeah.
Hey, and Justin, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back in there. And I was thinking about this today because I just set up my RSS feed to look at Touchdown Alabama Mag, so I can get those articles as they come in, so I can see what Stephen M. Smith be talking about. See if he'll give me a subscription so I can stop getting locked out of these things, so I can read some of his articles on these recruiting pieces he be writing.
Dude, what it cost you? $3 a month? $8 a month? What is this?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. You probably got that money laying around under the floor down there.
It does.
Oh, yeah, I need to stop.
She said she changed her Twitter avatar. Yeah, I think we all did. So, that one hurt more than the Alabama game to me.
By
the way,
100% agree, and I don't even care about the Cowboys that much.
Yeah, that one I was disappointed because I have to put on the San Francisco 49ers jersey because I lost the bet.
to Art?
To Art.
Isn't this the second time?
No, we didn't bet clothing on it last time. We went on and bet the clothing on it this time. So I owe him a cigar. I owe him $20, and I got to wear the jersey.
Wow.
So I'm going to pay up.
Last shout out. Justin Riley Network, the Bama Standard, which are friends of the show, has he had Jalen Armour Davis on Tuesday, and next Tuesday looks like will be Slade Bolden, and I think they have somebody else lined up. So go check that out on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And then after you finish watching Slade Bolden and Justin Riley and the rest of them, come on over our show. We start right after.
That's right. That's right. So we do appreciate you guys very much. It's been another great episode. We love all you guys for listening in, subscribing. Like we said, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, hit the little bell. Make sure you're getting everything that's coming out with us, because we are moving, we're growing, and it is because of you. And we wanted to say thank you. Nick, thank you for always coming on and being partnered with us too. You're part of the family as well.
Thanks, Coach.
So we hope to look to see you, have you on again in the near future. Saying that, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll see you then. Deuces.